is the last time for the 49.99. That was the Monahan, if they wanted to make it historical.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I didn't make those.
We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order tonight. Thank you for joining us. Councilman Box, if you would be so kind.
Absolutely. Everybody join me, please. Almighty Creator, maker of everything in heaven and earth and the universe and all that there is in between. We thank you for the opportunity to come here tonight and talk about our little spot, Irondale. Thank you for the people that have come here that we serve. Help us to make wise decisions and to try to find solutions for everyone here. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Box.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
All right. Everybody on the dais, please be able to speak up, use your microphones. We've got a crowded room and plenty of people in the hallway, so there'll probably be some background noise, so let's make sure we're using our mics. That being said, roll call. Councilman London.
Present.
Councilwoman Cuellar.
Here.
Councilman Box.
Here.
Councilman Sims.
Here.
And myself present. All right. At this moment, we look for a movement on the approval of the minutes from the regular city council meeting of August 2nd, 2022.
Motion to approve the minutes for August 2nd, 2022.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention by Councilman Sims. I believe you were out of town that day, right? Outstanding. All right. Next order of business would be the payment of bills, if someone could introduce that for us.
Make a motion to pay the current bills in the amount of $317,033.77.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. All right. At this time, we would look for any reports from our professionals or consultants. Any professionals or consultants to deliver a report this evening? I'm going to go with the no on that. All right. Mayor, your report, sir. You have the floor.
Well, I want to say good evening to everyone. We are glad to see such a large audience here. We hope to entertain you and make your night worthwhile. Before I get into the report part, I'm going to go ahead and give out 4 proclamations. I believe that you should give people their flowers while they are alive. And also, when we have citizens in our community to accomplish great things, we need to be able to honor them. Therefore, I have 4 proclamations that I'm going to do tonight. They're going to be for Jack Baker. I may keep Joe Mead's proclamation. He's also our city engineer, Jim Dolan and Greg Gratton. So. Ms. Gratton, are you here? Is this Ms. Gratton? You're not Ms. Gratton? Is Mr. Gratton here? Oh, I'm sorry. If you would come here, I'm going to go ahead and read this. You got your mask on, so I didn't know exactly who you were. How are you? I'm doing well, doing well. Mr. Gratton used to, well, he still owns Green Acres, and he used to own the one that was right there on Crestwood Boulevard. Mr. Gratton has been in this business or family for over 15 years. 50 years. There was an article that was written in the Birmingham News that talked about 15 restaurants that have been able to stand the test of time. Green Acres was one of those restaurants, and also the Whistle Stop Cafe. So I think that you all should give them a round of applause for being able to hang around for such a long time. And I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. It says, whereas for more than 70 years, Green Acres Cafe has been the place to be in Jefferson County for fried chicken wings, catfish, pork chops, and more. And whereas Green Acres Cafe currently operates in 3 locations, the historic 4th Avenue District in downtown Birmingham, Inslee, and Centerpoint, and has occupied many other locations over the years. And whereas Mr. Greg Gratton, who grew up working in the family business, is the heart and soul of Green Acres Cafe. And whereas Green Acres Cafe was named one of the 15 Alabama restaurants that have stood the test of time by AL.com in July 2022. And whereas Mr. Greg Gratton prides himself in taking a hands-on approach to running his business and treating his customers and employees like family. And whereas Greg Gratton and his wife Cynthia are proud residents of the city of Irondale and have 3 daughters. Mr. Grant, can you give me a Thaisa? Okay. Thaisa, I didn't want to butcher it, Tamika and Tiffany, as well as 5 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that I, James Douglas Stewart Jr., the mayor of the city of Irondale, issue this proclamation of congratulations to Mr. Greg Gratton for his outstanding business leadership and for making the city of Irondale proud. In witness whereof I have signed and sealed on the 16th day of August 2022. Is there anything you'd like to say, Mr. Grant?
Well, I would just
You come on to the mic so they can hear you on Facebook.
I would just like to say to the mayor and to the city council and to the citizens of Irondale, we appreciate being in business here in Irondale for 16 years, and we appreciate y'all's support and your patriotism, and we thank you very much, and I'm gonna keep doing the things that I'm supposed to do, serving that good food.
Well, I would like to, I'm going to take a picture with you, Mr. Gratton, but one question I do have to ask you. Did you bring us any chicken wings?
I don't normally practice bringing food around with me because I would have a whole caravan behind me waiting until I stop.
Well, if you want to bring your mayor some during next week, I am open to receiving those only for me.
I have to sneak it in the office now. I definitely can't bring it in here.
Okay, well, that'll work. That'll work. You're part of the success too.
I don't know about that part.
Jim, come on down. All right. Jim and I get a chance to joke each other periodically because I go over to the cafe pretty consistently, and he'll ask me how everything's going, and I tell him that I'm just trying to keep it in the middle of the road. And but Jim, I really enjoy the conversations and everything that you've been able to do for the city of Irondale, and also I enjoy the great food that you have when I come over there as well. So I'll go ahead and read your proclamation. It says, whereas the Irondale Cafe has been around since 1928, and whereas it began as a hot dog stand before Bess Fortenberry bought it and converted it into a down-home cafe that her great niece, Alabama author Fannie Flagg, later immortalized in her 1987 novel, Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, and subsequent Oscar-nominated 1991 movie. And whereas the Irondale Cafe steamable menu figures as an assortment of delicious southern meats, vegetables, including country fried steak, chicken and dumplings, black-eyed peas, mac and cheese, and those famous fried green tomatoes. And whereas the Irondale Cafe was named one of the 15th restaurants that has stood the test of time by AL.com in July 2022, and whereas Mr. Jim Dolan purchased the cafe in 2000 and prides himself in the restaurant history and preservation, and whereas Mr. Dolan enjoys serving his regular customers as well as guests that come from all over the world to visit this famous restaurant in the heart of Irondale. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, James Douglas Stewart Jr., Mayor of the City of Irondale, issue this proclamation of congratulations to Mr. Dolan for his outstanding business leadership and for making the City of Irondale proud. In witness whereof, I sign and sealed on the 16th day of August 2022. You've never been shy for a few words.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, Chief, citizens of Irondale. We appreciate your continued support. We got 94 years under our belt. Hopefully I can hang in there for 6 more. And then what we'll do after the century, I don't know. Thank you very much.
And he still calls me James. My next proclamation is for Mr. Jack Baker, who has served as a chaplain for the Birmingham Barons for over 40 years. Jack, I just want to know, how did you do it for over 40 years?
You can only do something like that if the Lord's leading you and you got a wonderful wife and kids who understand why you miss Easter, Mother's Day, and so many Sundays when the Barons are in town.
Okay.
And having a partner like Joe Mees to help fill in when you're not going to be in town.
Well, you was doing pretty well until you announced your partner.
I realize that, but you know, have to give credit.
Okay, we'll give him a little credit, but I'll go. That's why I saved yours for last, so I can give you a hard time when you get up here. Okay, it says, whereas Jack Baker was recognized by the Birmingham Barons Baseball Organization on August the 7th, 2022, for 40 years of service as their chaplain, and whereas Jack Baker is believed to be the longest serving chaplain in minor league baseball, and whereas Jack's passion for baseball, his faith, and serving others intersect and help to guide his path throughout life. And whereas Jack Baker played baseball at Auburn University, was drafted into the minor leagues, and earned a position in the majors with the Boston Red Sox. And whereas Jack's ministry through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes has touched thousands of youth and adults in the region. Whereas Jack was born in the city of Irondale and returned here to raise his family with his wife, Amy, almost 40 years ago. And whereas the Bakers are the proud parents of Jeff, Jenny, and Sarah, and enjoy being grandparents to 9 beautiful grandchildren. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, James Douglas Stewart Jr., Mayor of the City of Irondale, issue this proclamation of congratulations to Mr. Jack Baker for his 40-year milestone as Barron's chaplain and for making the City of Irondale proud. In witness whereof, I have signed and sealed on the 16th day of August 2022.
I'll say one thing. I just want to thank the mayor and the city council for this honor. It is special for us because I lived on Fifth Avenue when I came home from the hospital. Was here for 4 years and then moved back in '83. Irondale's home. And a chance to do the ministry for the Birmingham Barons is a special blessing for a baseball player. And being retired now, it's kind of fun being home on Sunday afternoon on those holidays. So thank you so much.
Last but not least, my friend, also our city engineer, Mr. Joe Meads. Well, Well, we have this saying that if I don't give him a hard time, I don't love him. So if I don't give you a hard time, if I don't joke with you or say smart things, then I typically don't love you. So let me have my way. Joe is, like I said, very special friendship. But the proclamation reads, whereas Joe Neves was recognized by the Birmingham Mayor Organization on August 7, 2022, Vision Service, Chaplain, and whereas Joe loves was serving God, enjoying the game of baseball, and serving his community, and guiding his life journey. And whereas Joe Neves played on the state championship baseball team at Cannon High School, and has always found joy in it. Whereas Joe Neves and his wife Rachel have been residents in the city of Iredell for more than 30 years. Whereas Joe has dedicated coaching to his son and other children in Iredell Hall for many years. Whereas Joe Neves served the city of Iredell on the board of directors of Iredell Chamber of Commerce, as well as in his professional capacity as a civil engineer and principal of Same Associates. Whereas Joe's life always shines bright, and his love for his family, his church, his community, is akin to all. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Daniel W. Stewart Jr., Mayor of the City of Iredell, issue this proclamation. Congratulations to my friend, Mr. Joe Neves, for his 26-year milestone as Mayor's Chaplain, and for making the City of Iredell proud. In witness whereof, I have signed and sealed the 6 postgraduates of all. Want to say a few words, John?
I have to adjust it down.
Yeah.
You're not used to looking up at somebody, are
No,
you?
I don't have to look up to too many people.
I want to thank the mayor and the council and everyone here for this tremendous honor. It's really, Rachel and I have been in Irondale over 30 years. We love the community. We just moved to our third home in Irondale, so we really love it here. And what a special privilege for me to serve with my big brother over here for 26 years as chaplain of the Barons. He's the big leaguer. I'm just toting his bags out there, but it was really special time for us to minister and serve the baseball players, the Birmingham Barons. And it's really special to be involved in that ministry. It's something we really enjoyed. I do love baseball. Rachel and I travel and take baseball road trips, so we've always enjoyed the game and follow it, and something we really appreciate. So thank you, Mayor.
Get out. All right. Just have several more announcements that I would like to finish up. The first one is on August the 23rd. We're going to have a town hall meeting where we will discuss the roving plan, the road rage plan. But we are going to discuss the road paving plan and the FY 2023 budget. So if you are curious if your road is included in the plan for 2023, you can send an email to jstewart@cityofirondale.al.gov, and we can let you know if your street is going to be included this year. Also, we have the openings for the Citizen Engagement Institute. This will be our third institute. I encourage anybody that wants to know what really happens in government and how we maneuver ourselves through government, that you would sign up for the institute. You can go to cityofirondale.al.gov. Registrations will close on August 24th. We will start classes on September the 7th, and those classes will last for about 6 weeks. Also, I want to thank the council for their support that we were able to provide to the schools at the beginning of the school year. Last Monday, we took $10,000 worth of supplies to Grantswood, Irondale Community School, Irondale Middle School, and the high school. Our goal was to make sure that when kids went back to school, especially with everything that's going on in the economic environment, that their parents would not have to worry about if they would have the needed supplies. We took the supplies directly to the school, so the school have the supplies there to be able to take care of the students. I'm going to approximate, it was about 2,500 students that we were able to provide school supplies for this year. So I'd like to thank the council for that as well. Also, if you have kids between the ages of 5 and 12, we're looking for them to register for fall ball. We're trying to start up youth athletics again in the city of Irondale, and we thought that it would be great to be able to start baseball in the fall, to be able to prepare everybody for when the actual season comes around. Also, our football team and cheerleader squad, if you received the information through the water bill, we put a calendar in there for all of the youth games that we're going to have going on in the city. I would like to encourage you, even if you don't have a kid, that if you would go out and to be a supporter and also to be able to cheer for the kids. And also, if you have some extra money laying around and you just want to sponsor a kid, everybody we know are going through difficult and hard times. So if you would like to be a sponsor of one of the kids doing that, we would appreciate that as well. My last announcement is I want to introduce you all to our new court magistrate. So if you have to go to the courts now, Dana is just started working here at the city on August the 10th. She's now the supervisor in our courts. So she's the new supervisor there. So if you get any tickets or any kind of violations or whatever, you'll probably see her on Thursday. So we just want to thank her for becoming a part of the Irondale family.
Where is she? Dana?
Dana, would you just come out? They won't bite you. I promise they won't bite you. If you just come to the center so everybody can. Yeah, but Dana worked at Mountain Brook and now she's working at the city of Irondale, and she is so glad to be working at the city of Irondale, and we're also glad to have her to be a part of the family. I believe those are all of the announcements that I have. Oh, also, if you haven't signed up for the 135th anniversaries for the city of Irondale, it's sold out. We have 1,700 individuals that we are expecting to be in Beacon Park on September the 25th. However, if you will go to the website and sign up, we do have a waiting list, and you can expedite yourself on the waiting list. If you call the mayor and say, "Mayor, I love you," I will make sure that your name get up the list much quicker than anybody to go through the other registrations. I'm sorry, you all. I know I have dry humor, so just hold on with me for a minute. But again, we thank you for coming out tonight. We hope you enjoy our council meeting, and there's at least one thing that you leave this place that you learned when you walk out the door that you didn't know when you walked in the door. Thank you, Council President. I'll turn it over to
I
you.
have a quick question. Mayor,
Yeah,
I have
you're
a
welcome,
quick-
Mayor. Councilwoman Quayle?
I have a quick question in regard to the road paving plan. Can the council members receive a list of the roads that are scheduled for road paving work?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time,
I'll speak louder. I asked if the council members could receive a list of the roads scheduled for paving in 2023, and he said that he would get us a list of the roads.
thank you. At this time, we look for any department head reports.
Just a couple things. One, we had our training event out at the Cahaba area. Went very well. Thank Council President Spivey for coming out and participating. Hopefully, it was a good time and able to see some of the things that we're trying to do. I thought it went very well. Able to showcase our surrounding neighbors' abilities as well as ours, and why we get the equipment that we get. So, thank Mayor Stewart for coming out and supporting us as well. So. Just that. We also, with the police department, had a good time welcoming the kids back to school. In the last couple of weeks, I know we was at JCA yesterday, and then the previous week at Grants Wood in the middle school. I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Brasher. He has some of our new explorers he just wanted to introduce, and also the explorer that I was talking about last meeting that's dual enrolled, getting EMT basics. So I'll let him kind of talk about what he wanted to discuss.
Good evening. As y'all know, that I'm over the Explorer program, and I started it last year. And it's one of those positions that it's an earned position. It's, it's kind of a call process. So I started with a few, probably around 15, and now I ended up with about 9. And out of one of them, there's one that I really want to celebrate her accomplishment, because she has reached a tremendous milestone. She's only 17 years old. She started back in August, about a year ago. I got her dual enrolled with Jeff State in June. She crammed a 10-week course that's usually one semester of college, and she successfully passed. So now she's 17 years old, setting to be registered, nationally registered EMT basic in about 2 weeks. So she will have a national license to operate as an emergency medical technician, and that is a tremendous milestone, because there's grown people that are not able to meet that accomplishment, let alone being 17 years old, and she's just started a senior last week at Shades Valley High. So I'm going to ask Ashley Leon to stand up and recognize her. And with that being said, I started a new recruit class about 2 weeks ago with these 3 here. I'm going to let them come up and introduce themselves and tell a little bit. And if y'all have questions, please ask them, and let them kind of, introduce themselves to you.
Hi, my name is Kyle Williams, and I attend Jefferson Christian Academy. I am currently a junior, and I would just like to thank Lieutenant Bradshaw and Captain McDaniel for starting this program. It showed me not only the importance of being a firefighter or just doing stuff of that magnitude, but also being a good citizen and helping my neighborhood. So I'd just like to thank them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Camp. I attend Jefferson Christian Academy as well. I'm also a junior. I just want to thank them also, because I didn't know what I wanted to do originally with my life and where I wanted to go. And when I saw this, I was like, wow, that's cool. And so now I feel like I have a path that I can go down and hopefully find a career in it.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Landa. I'm 17. I attend Jeff State Community College. I want to thank Captain McDaniel and Lieutenant Brasher for this amazing opportunity they're providing for us. They've just been really helpful, and I think this is just an amazing opportunity. Thank you.
Also with this program, they are currently CPR certified, so they are ready to go. They actually started riding the engine last week, so a couple of them has yet to get on the engine, but they are cleared. They started with me, I think, in about middle of June, and I have the 7-week program that I, work through them and make sure they have skills to do the job, to not just ride, but actually put hands on, because I feel like you learn with your hands. So this skill is actually for them to move forward with this, and I hope maybe with the dual enrollment programs, we can actually get them enrolled in Jeff State or Herzing while they're still currently enrolled in high school. So when they get graduated, they can roll right into the career. Also, I was going to tell real quick about what I'm doing with Shades Valley. If y'all happen to hear, I'm working with the health science program up there to try to get those kids that are doing health science actually involved with Kirkwood by the River and our senior citizen center to go out and do blood pressure checks and have a mentor at that facility so they can get real world hands-on learning abilities there at the school. But we're working out the details right now to try to make that happen. So if you do happen to hear about that, that's what it is. It's not a complete program right now. There's a lot of details on trying to get the kids from the campus to those facilities. So once that gets cleared, we'll be good for that. But that's just another outreach program I'm trying to work with the kids at the schools to get them out, get them career ready for the world of either being in a firefighting situation or emergency medical technicians. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Oh, well, thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any other reports from any other department heads this evening? I want to go with the no. Fair enough. At this time, we would look for our council member reports. I'll just go ahead and start off by saying that received a lot of emails about, I'm going to call it progress on Grants Mill and Old Leeds Road. So some concerns around some of the construction and everything like that. If those comments are presented at the end of our meeting tonight, we'll deal with those accordingly. But I just want to let you know I have received those emails. We have received a lot of emails, I know, regarding some of these rezoning cases. We'll get into them as we get into our meeting agenda and our public hearings tonight. Other than that, as far as District 2 is concerned, seeing lots of new families in there. It was great to see the police and fire at our schools. I know when I took my girls to school for the first day, it was great seeing their presence, so I really appreciated that. And then to piggyback on Chief McDaniel, it was great to participate in that search and rescue exercise. I really, really enjoyed how cohesively these multiple organizations work together. A lot of times when you get a big search or something like that, you have multiple police departments, fire, search and rescue companies working. And a lot of times it's a lot of a struggle between these organizations. And to see how well you guys work together was just really, really refreshing. So I just want to thank them for the awesome work that they're doing, proactively reaching out to these different organizations. We are very well taken care of, and I just appreciate that. Thank you very much. Councilman Sims.
Thank you everyone for coming out, and I don't really have anything, so we'll just keep it brief.
Fair enough. Councilman Box.
Well, ditto, thanks for everyone for coming out. Two quick things. Bridge in Mountain Lake Estate's coming along very nicely. Mayor, am I remiss in mentioning anything about the Heritage Place property? Are we okay with that?
We came to an agreement.
Yes, so we're moving forward on that.
Yeah, we came to an agreement on the price, so now we're waiting to receive a contract from the owner.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. And great to see you guys from JCA coming out. That's a school out there in my district as well, so good to see that. And with that, I'll pass it on to Councilwoman Quayle.
Okay. Councilwoman Quayle.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Most of you probably know about Jefferson County announcing the closure of Grants Mill Road to Grants Mill Lane, I think is the name of the road. If you're not aware of it, they will be closing that road. We do have the detour on Grantswood Road that you'll be able to go around on. But I did want to give you a heads up for those of you that are not aware that that will be closing so that they can begin working on the widening of that road. The second thing I wanted to ask is, well, first of all, before I move on to the second thing, I'm very excited about these young people that are involved in the Explorer program. Congratulations to you who will be enrolled in the EMT Basic. we're very excited about that. We hope that you'll become a part of our team. God willing, that'll happen. And also, Miss Langa, I'm also excited about you being a student at Jeff State. So I want to commend you for what you're doing. I hope it's a wonderful experience for you, Mr. Williams and Miss Kim from Jefferson Christian Academy. Welcome. And I look forward to learning more about the progress that you're making. I'm excited that you're CPR certified. That's wonderful, and excited about what it's going to be like riding on the fire engines. So thank you so much for getting involved with this program. The last thing I'd like to ask about is for our council members. I'd like to have an ordinance committee meeting, and I'd like you to check your schedules. The three things that I'd like us to discuss, one is the Airbnb, short-term rentals. The second thing will be the fireworks, looking at working with the fireworks ordinances. And lastly, we have water sanitation, and that, I believe that's Phoenix Water, that I'd like us to discuss. So if you can check your schedules, I know we have a town hall on the 23rd. Perhaps maybe sometime after that. What do your schedules look like for the last week in August? We got the 29th, the 30th, and the 31st.
I know I'm in town that entire week until that weekend, basically.
Okay.
30th or 31st. Right?
30th, 31st.
He did a 30th, 31st.
Mr. Lennon, how about you?
What time?
Is 5 o'clock good for everyone, or would you prefer 6?
5's good for me.
5 is good?
Good.
5:30? Aaron?
5:30 would probably be a little better
5:30 be better for you? 5:30?
if that works for everybody
Okay.
else.
On the 30th?
On the 30th.
Any
Councilman Lennon?
conflicts on the municipal calendar for that?
I can be here.
Okay.
I'm
I'm
gonna have to
sorry?
leave early.
I was leaving Mayor. Any conflicts on the municipal calendar?
No,
Okay.
I'll be out that week.
Yeah, that's.
What does the 30th at 5:30 look like for you? Okay, so let's schedule an ordinance committee meeting for August the 30th at 5:30.
I may have to leave early. I got a prior engagement
Okay,
those 2 days. So
We can make it 5.
would you like?
five
Would
will
it be easy
five
to
will be
hit
better.
5?
5 will be better.
All right, let's change it to 5 o'clock, gentlemen,
Yeah.
and April 5
them all in
5
there.
o'clock. Thank you, Aaron.
Good.
Thank you, Councilman Lennon.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to report.
Sorry, I'm just jotting that down. Councilman London, your report?
Yes, thank you, Council President. Just a couple of things. First of all, good evening to everyone for showing up tonight. Let me get back to my board here. Hold on. Just 2 announcements. For as scholarship, there are some scholarships available. Actually, 6 scholarships available for youth football, and you could please contact the Irondale Community Foundation at gmail.com, or you can call 205-951-1383. And its priority will be to those families who have multiple children that's playing football. So there are 6 available scholarships available to play football, and that'll cover their equipment at cost. You can register for that at www.cityofirondaleal.gov. So that's phone number again, 205-951-1383. Also, be sure to go on the website and register for the park plan. There's one out there on the website. So go out there and input exactly what you want your parks to look like. And whatever you put down there, that's what we're going to go by. It's not about us, the council. It's going to be about you. So make sure that you go on there and that master plan and put in your input. Also, some passion to my heart. As a school teacher, as a coach, school has started. Slow down. Get off the phones. If you're late, you're late. Slow down in the zone. There's going to be some detours around our schools. Please slow down. Mayor, police department, I don't give you anything to do. I'm not saying what you need to do. But if they're speeding around our schools, that's all I need to say. All right, can we do that? So please slow down around our schools. Get off the phone. If you're late, you're late. You can't make it up. You're late, you're late. Just call in and say, I'm going to be late. You'll be fine. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. At this time, we would accept any reports from boards or non-council committees. Any board member reports or non-council committees. Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and we'll get into the meat of the agenda. We have multiple public hearings tonight on our agenda. So if you were to look at that, you would see 5 public hearings. Now, we have been asked to take off number 5 of those public hearings. So the 5th item, which is related to the unsafe premises and everything, that will be coming off. And then in just regarding a piece of housekeeping, the item number 6 under the consent agenda is directly tied to that public hearing. So item number 6 will be coming off of our consent agenda. So as we continue to deliberate and things of that nature, when this is introduced, if that item could be removed. All right, so public hearings, we've got 4 of them now. What we will do is we will open a public hearing. We will hear from the person that is most interested in proposing this agenda change. After we hear from that individual, we will then open it up for public comments for that change, and then we will open it up for comments against that change. So we would really prefer the comments to be on either side of that. So when we open it up for fours, that's your time. When we open it up to against, that's your time. We will then close that public hearing. Council will have an opportunity to make some comments, ask some questions, and then we'll roll into the next public hearing, open it up, same process, close it, questions, and we'll do that 4 times and repeat. Fair enough? All right.
Councilman London, I just wanted to say, for those that would rather go ahead and clear the room now, you're free to do so. And those of you, we do have some seats. Second row, there is a seat there, and we have one on the first row. You can't hear me? All right, I'll move it in closer. How's that? Okay.
Basically, the comment from Councilwoman Cuellar is if your business here has concluded, because based on the proclamations or anything else you're done, you're free to go. Give you an opportunity to kind of shuffle out. That has exposed some free seating up front if anybody wants to come on down and have a seat. All right. So for our first public hearing, need a motion to enter public hearing.
Motion to enter public hearing.
Second.
We have motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, perfect. So this first public hearing, the City Council of the City of Irondale will hear comments from interested citizens for a change of zoning from R2 Residential District to I1 Light Industrial District for the property located at 4999 Overton Road, Irondale, Alabama 35210. Do we have someone to propose this this zoning change with us this evening? Yes, sir. Please come on up front, and if you could use the podium, and then we'll get there, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. If you could state your name and your address.
I'm Zach Nelson. I'm a resident of Homewood, so I'd like to purchase this for my business. I have a landscape business. Been doing that for about 5 years now. I was a golf course superintendent for about 13 years, graduated from Auburn University with a turf grass degree. And then 2017 started this. And so I do a lot of work around this area and Liberty Park. And so it would be like very conveniently located to have this. It's already cleared out. I believe there used to be an old home there that has been torn down. As it currently sits, it's right around 5 acres, and I'm purchasing 2 acres that is just kind of up front, closer to the road. I'd like to put a nice metal shop building that is landscaped around it. I do a lot of artificial turf grass, and that's the number one question that I get from my clients is where can I go to see this, to walk on it. And so I'd like to, maybe do a artificial putting green out front and then, landscape the rest of the lawn with the artificial turf, just for them to be able to invite them. So I don't want it to be junked up like some other landscape companies that I've seen. I want it to be, always presentable, so that I can bring potential clients out.
Gotcha. And I know during the planning and zoning, when this was brought forward, this passed with unanimous approval, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Any other comments from yourself to the rest of the audience?
No, sir.
Okay. So at this time, we will take anyone for the rezoning of this piece of land. So any comments to the council for the rezoning? Yes, sir.
And I've represented the owner for 15 years. My name's Bill Warren. Marietta Moynihan bought the house years ago to live in, and the roof was real difficult. So unfortunately, she didn't repair the roof, and the house had to be torn down. But across the street, if you're familiar with the commissary, it was a law office, and I think it's been a drug counseling center. It's across the street. The neighbor directly to the east lives there, but he built a fitness center in his backyard, and we actually let him have access so he wouldn't have to go through his own yard to build like a 600 square foot, maybe 1,000 square foot fitness center. The next neighbor over has a landscape business in his yard. He lives there. On the other side, there's a vacant lot. A woman in Florida owns it. It's actually in Birmingham, and she wants us to find a service station to go there. I'm not sure there's enough traffic, but we actually have it for sale. It's in Birmingham. It's not, I can't do anything about that. But anyway, Merrill Stewart's got a real nice office down the street, a construction company. He took a swamp and converted it to a real nice habitat. But this would mean a lot to Marietta. She's had this property on the market for 15 years, and evidently her agent hadn't done a very good job. Taking this long to get a reasonable offer. The houses in the back up on Pine Street will be protected. That's not going to be part of this sale. We're just selling the front 2 acres. Thank you.
Perfect. Gentlemen, if you could make sure Miss Lee and Allison has y'all's address for the record. Okay. All right. We'll give them, guys, if you guys could go ahead and do that real quick before we move forward. Thank you. We'll give them just a moment. Thank you. All right. Any other comments for this rezoning? Okay. No more comments for this rezoning. We would take comments regarding not being for this rezoning as opposed. Any comments as opposed? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jackie Crandall. I live at 4301 Cabo Cove Road, and so this property is somewhat of an entrance into my neighborhood. And so primarily before I say that I'm against it, I do have a question for Mr. Nelson. The property that is next to it, I think it's 4983, is Birmingham. It is a burned down house still on the property, and I'm curious about putting a business and opening a business while there's still a burned structure relatively very close to where this would be. Have you considered that?
So there, you're standing on the property, you can't see the neighbor, that she's referring to. It's like, it's a wooded property line there, really big privet, bamboo. So I would not be clearing the property line for that.
Does that answer your question?
That does. I mean, in the winter, there is less foliage, and so the lots are clearer and you can see them more as you're driving by. Again, it's Birmingham. We can't do anything about that property, but I do have reservations about let's put a business there when we have a burned structure next to it. I also, I'm cautious about saying let's put another landscape business. It sounds lovely, and I know Liberty Park has lots of resources. My husband does a lot of work in Liberty Park as well. But if you were to travel down Buckthorn, there is a landscape company there, Liberty Village. It used to be Liberty Stone. If you travel up the hill, up Bushwood, there is another landscape laydown yard. And so I think that keeping this as more residential would be beneficial rather than bringing in another landscape unit into our neighborhood.
Noted. Any other comments against the rezoning? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Dave Hall. I live at 4101 Buckthorn Road. That's the house that is next door to 4999 Overton Road. I also obviously have some concerns. The property's right next door to mine. The property has been on the market since I've been in this house in 2008. And the property has largely been neglected over that entire period. So I live next door to an abandoned house that was eventually taken down. When the city took that house down, I think you guys missed that there's a swimming pool back there that still exists. So the property is completely covered with privet and bamboo. That's just something that I've lived next to. I'm not necessarily opposed to a business going in next door, but I also have concerns. The primarily one is, why are we going light industrial as opposed to a commercial listing? The reason I ask that is that if he decides that it doesn't work out for him and he moves on, that opens up the door for all kinds of businesses that could come in next door to my house. I have my own property values to look out for. I have my family to look out for. So those are concerns that I have about that property. So I just urge you to consider and urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. In response to your question, we've seen this with other landscaping companies. That's the zoning that it fits into is I. And I would, in preparation for considering this, and what we have done in the past is put some verbiage in there that would strip everything out of that I that would not be necessary for that rezoning and specified use, basically. So we have done that in the past. Because I know there's a lot of things in industrial. I can understand your concern, but we have been able to strip that out in previous things, and that would be something I would ask for consideration on.
I've looked through the I-1. It does say that permitted uses they're permitted in C2 zones.
Landscaping was in I-1.
As here, uses permitted in C2 zones.
Mayor, wrote in on that?
I would have to look at the actual zoning chart to be.
Because I know the last time we did a landscaping, it was
Yeah,
an
if you look
industrial.
at section 417-1.
I-1 would allow
A.
specific things listed and also anything that is in C2.
Uses permitted in C2 zones.
I'm going to call on. Let's see.
Got it
We
here.
managed to let Jim sneak out of the building.
I guess what was your question?
It's saying that if you go I-1, there are uses permitted in C2 zones. And so it does open up the door for all kinds of other types of businesses. And
Let's continue to take comments
have
on that. I think
the
legal's
C2.
going to look through the code real quick. So we'll give them a moment of time to kind of dig through that, because we've done it in the past this way, where landscaping has been industrial as far as that's concerned. Let's take any other comments against the rezoning. you up for the against? Sure, absolutely.
Hello, my name's Robert Gender, and I'm also a neighbor on Buckthorn Road, next door to Mr. Hall at 4115 Buckthorn Road. My question is why I'm just finding out about this today, why we've received no notice of this rezoning. I've had no notice in the mail, no notice dropped to the house. I've been out of town for about 10 days, 10 or 12 days, and so I'm just wondering why this is being dropped on me tonight. So I really don't have any idea what's going on. I mean, I think, well, geez, if you're going to go I-1, let's just go I-3 and make the whole area commercial, industrial, and let's do whatever we want with our property. So can you answer why we're just now finding out about this tonight without no prior contact?
So there's a radius that the Alabama state law requires us notice in, and we notice within that radius. If you're
Yeah,
outside the
what's the radius, sir?
I believe it's 500 feet. So if you're outside of that 500 feet
I'm
of
within
radius,
500 feet.
You live within
Yes,
500
sir.
feet?
And I've had no notification.
Okay.
I just got back in town just late the other night, like 2 nights ago. I've had no notice of this whatsoever.
Well, the first part of this took place a month ago. Planning and zoning, you would have got notified.
No, sir.
Actually,
No, sir.
you all didn't get.
We got nothing, sir.
No one got notice.
I didn't know you were the mayor. Sorry, Mayor. I'm sorry. But I've had no notification in the mail whatsoever. I just happened to go by another neighbor's house tonight. He said, "Hey, are you going to the meeting tonight?" I said, "What meeting?" He said, "They're trying to rezone the property." So in my opinion, I think this should be put on hold until we're educated on what's going on in our neighborhood within 500 feet of my personal property. So I think that's only fair.
I received several phone calls from residents that live there that are within the 500 radius. None of them received the notification for the Planning and Zoning Board meeting that took place on the 26th of June or any time prior to or after. And they were totally taken aback by this.
So first off, before I ever introduce an item, if you're unaware that something procedurally has not been done, I would definitely appreciate knowing that ahead of time so that if we need to remove something from an agenda because the process hasn't been followed correctly, then that would definitely be beneficial. So just know that going forward. Because we don't want to waste anybody's time, including our own or our citizens in that matter. Now, yes, sir.
Additionally, most of the property is bamboo, and no matter what, I've been all over that property since I live so close. You definitely can see the burnt house, and that property is going to be cleared. It's nothing but privet and bamboo, which is easily visible from any type of business to the burnt house. I think City of Birmingham needs to get it torn down. So, thank you.
Bobby, thank you. Thank you. Now, one moment, guys. Those letters, they typically go out certified. Is that accurate?
Those letters go out certified. Once Butch create the list of all of the homes that are within 500 feet of the proposed rezoning, the individual that's requesting the rezoning comes and picks up the certified letters and then mail the certified letters to the surrounding areas. We do that on planning and zoning, and we also do that before it comes before the council.
Right, which is why sometimes it takes a month from P&Z to make it to our doorstep here. Do we have confirmation of those certified letters?
Well, we did not mail them. The owner would have, the individual requesting the rezoning would have been the one who would have mailed them and would have received the certifications that would have come back from the post office when those certifieds were mailed.
Look, Mr. Bush, Gerald's.
Yep, Butch Gerald's.
He told me that. I never knew that I had built anything.
Okay.
All right,
Good.
David.
That's in communication.
Butch just said that it had been changed and Kelly would have been responsible for mailing out those certifieds.
Okay.
We would have to check tomorrow to see who received what or who was mailed to what on tomorrow.
Okay. So I would agree with the gentleman that we should go ahead and postpone this.
Can this go before
fine.
planning and zoning to get the citizens get their feedback before planning and zoning, since they did not know and weren't given the opportunity to come and comment?
Well, the planning and zoning deal that's a done deal. I mean, that's already
Without public comment, they were not aware of it.
We had a public hearing on that.
Yeah, and
If they didn't know, how can they come and comment?
Hold on.
Can I
Point of
speak?
order.
Can I
Point of
speak?
order.
Planning and zoning is only a recommending board. So planning and zoning is not going to change anything that would take place in front of the council. The best thing that we could do is postpone it at the council level to verify if the letters were mailed and who they were mailed to. We can do that by the next council meeting. Then from there, we can decide how to proceed.
Fair enough. So I would introduce a motion to, we have one person raising that would like to make a comment. I'm curious to see what you would have to say.
You're so curious.
I am very curious.
My home would be directly behind where this is going in. So I'm not saying I'm opposed either, but what I am concerned about is your concern. We were not notified. 2 days ago, all of us at Cahaba Landings got a letter from the city of Vestavia talking about a zoning issue with Liberty Park coming down toward our neighborhood, and they want to rezone. And they said we're within 500 feet. Well, we're a lot closer to this property. We're also a whole lot closer to the Hills Edge, and we were not notified of either change, Hills Edge or Overton Road. Now, if the city of Vestavia can mail us something, I think the city of Irondale can mail everybody something, because we all need to be aware of what's going on with our property values that are affected by the zoning changes.
Fair enough. Thank you for your comments. I had another hand go up. We're obviously going to be suspending this. We're already here, so we might as well talk it out. So you had a comment, sir?
Yes, I'm a property owner on Hills Edge.
Can we get his name?
We're going to need your name and number if you
Gonna
want to
need
come
your
on
name.
up front.
Please come speak in the microphone.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, Council President.
No, you're fine.
John Castleberry. I presently live in Vestavia. I bought 5 acres on it. It went before planning and zoning. There were a couple of neighbors there inquiring about, what exactly what I was doing. It was all explained. But I never was given letters. Never was even mentioned. So whether people got notice, or everyone got notice or not, I don't know.
Fair enough. I appreciate that input. Yes, sir.
Which we were supposed to be heard like 2 weeks ago, but the letter didn't go out for that one. So I made a specifics request and talked to Butch. He assured me that the letter didn't go out.
Okay. If he's changed,
Roger Schaefer, who's up the hill, Texas, got one.
if there's been an internal policy change in his office, I'm not aware of that. So we will see clarity on that. I would ask for a motion to close this public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We will obviously look to get clarity on this and see about those certified letters, and we'll most likely approach this, and we can probably approach this in 2 weeks. Well, at the first meeting of next month?
Yes, because if people didn't get notified, we still got
Okay.
the 15-day deal to notify them before we can proceed.
Okay, fair enough. So that's where we stand on that issue at this time. All right. Motion to go into our second public hearing.
Motion to go into second public hearing.
All right. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. All right. So at this time, the City Council for the City of Irondale will hear comments from interested citizens for a change of zoning from C1 Commercial District to an A1 Agricultural District for the property located at 2616 Floyd Broadford Road, Trussville, Alabama 35210. Do we have anyone to present this case this evening? We have no one to present this case this evening. All right. Since we are in a public hearing, at this time we would take any comments for this rezoning. We have no comments for this rezoning. Do we have any against this rezoning? Let the record note, no presenter for this, no one in favor, no one against. Motion to close this public hearing.
Motion to
Could
close.
you, I'm assuming you were at the zoning.
I was, thank you.
Could you briefly inform us
what you
Sure.
recall?
So basically, this was something that was bought. The intended use by the previous owner was never realized. And basically, what happened was someone else bought it, and they want to basically kind of take it back to what it was prior.
Thank you.
That is the idea there. And this was fully approved by planning and zoning. Thank you for stopping me. That being said,
Make a
since
motion, we return to regular council meeting.
motion,
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion to enter a public hearing for our third item.
Motion for third public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Aye. At this time, the City Council, City of Irondale will hear comments from interested citizens for a change of zoning from A1 Agricultural District to an R1 Residential District for the property located at 4283 Hillside Road, Irondale, Alabama 35210. Do we have anyone to present this case?
Council President Spivey, I believe the gentleman, Mr. Castleberry, said that the notices didn't go out. The residents around the area weren't aware that are within a 500 feet radius.
Well, Mr. Castleberry would not have sent the letters because we send the letters here from City Hall. So that's why
Okay.
he didn't know anything about it because he wasn't responsible for doing it in the first place.
All right.
And
But-
that was also a prior case. We're
Okay.
talking about a different case
Okay.
now. Yes, sir,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Castleberry, please.
Yeah, this is 5 acres of agricultural property. I want to sell an acre, approximately an acre of it. Since Irondale requires anything under 3 acres to be zoned R1 or sometimes can't be agricultural, then I'll have to sell it.
Fair enough.
And like I said, 2 of my neighbors were at the planning and zoning inquiring about, what was going on, but I have not talked to other neighbors in the last month or 2, so I can't say if they received notice.
Fair enough. You want to, because I know this is a unique property. There's a road that divides a portion of it. Would you like to let us know what your plans are?
Sure. I don't know how many of you are familiar with where the goat farm on Overton Road is. It's been there forever. This property I bought is on this hill. It's accessed off of Overton on Bushwood Road. It's a street's called Hill's Edge. Across the top. 5 acres I bought and had a Hill's Edge kind of running back and through. The one side of that road is pretty much open property, and the other side is wooded, and I want to build on the wooded side and sell some of the open side. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Would you remind us how much would be left on the open side?
There'd be 2 lots on the open side. One of them would be 0.8 acres. That's the one I hope to eventually sell. The other one is approximately 0.55. And it's an odd shape. It's a triangle. And it also will have my septic field across the street. It will be very difficult to sell, at least for someone to build. Because my septic field is going to take up enough space on that small lot to where Jefferson County is going to be very unlikely to have approved and structure.
Copy. I know I'll have some additional questions for you here in a moment. We'll go ahead and flip it over to the residents. I just want to make sure we got usage and things of that nature out of the way first. So at this time, I would like to take any comments from the citizens for this rezoning. For this rezoning. Any comments against this rezoning? Yes, sir. Please come on up. Thank you, sir.
My name's Jack Griffin. I live on top of Atlantic Road, which is right down from Village. And I just have a couple of comments. I don't necessarily disagree with the R1 zone, but the road on Hill's Edge is a single lane road. It's not going to stand high density traffic. It's a single lane road. You have to get off with another car coming.
Second issue I have, you mentioned earlier, you guys did industrial, you put in some qualifications, citizens that wouldn't be allowed. I would hate to see R1 be a stepping stone from single-family dwelling to multiple-family dwelling. So if it is rezoned R1, it would be nice if you could put in some language that it will not come back later and want to bump it up to R3, for example. Because that failure of the residential agriculture always has. If someone came in and wanted to put parks in there, change the whole scope of that, not to mention single lane road. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
Similar issues about notification about this property. But the house directly next to this open lot that was cleared, so, recently sold within the neighbors. And I would like to make sure that they are aware, because they bought a beautiful house with a gorgeous mountain view. And I want to make sure that they know about the potential to rezone. My second part is that I live essentially down the backside of the hill. So Hill's Edge is a mountaintop road, single lane, beautiful. And the backside of this hill is a lot of agricultural pasture land. And behind that is 56 and I think 48 Bushwood Road, which are directly across the street from me. And when it rains, that water rushes down through the gully of the house across the street from us. And we can see the waterfall come down Cahaba Landing Road. And I'm concerned if they were to put another house up on top of that hill to clear some land, pave a driveway, that what that runoff would do further down to my neighbors at Bushwood and to the front of our property. So I'd like that to be considered.
Copy. Any other comments against this rezoning? Okay. As far as questions,
Wait a minute, we have someone, I think he's, sir, were you gonna come up?
We're the new owners of that house. Okay. My name is Ron Jackson. We stay at 4247 Hills Edge. Basically been in the home for about 2 weeks. We kind of heard it because of our council person that came over. I'm not really, I don't know, you said that it's hard to build there, you know. I don't know if that's like a guarantee, but I mean, so far what we've seen or what we noticed is that, like you said earlier, it's a one-lane road. We have to cut the grass just to make sure that, you know, other cars can get by. And if we decide to go ahead and make it an R1, that means that also 2 houses can be built in that one lot area. Say 0.8 acres and 1 acre, that's a pretty large size lot to have. So I'm just kind of concerned about that. We just got the home. We like the fact that, you know, turkeys walk in our yard and the deers walk through. It's real quiet. I'm a former Army veteran. We decided to go ahead and tear down the area, and I kind of like the quietness of the property right now in a way that, you know, provides that whole park type feeling. My next door neighbor, we already talked about, you know, planting crops and so forth for the fall. So I really do oppose the actual, you know, to make it a place where, you know, you have more people. And I do think it will cause a runoff issue or concern. We have all that pavement because it's a straight hill. And I already noticed that too by the way that you cut grass there. So it's straight runoff. That's all I have to say.
thank you, sir. Any other comments against this rezoning? Okay. So I would like to go ahead. The gentleman who's presenting this case, I didn't see where you went. I do have one question for you. You mentioned house on one side of the road in the larger lot, septic tank on the other side of the road, right? How do you intend on getting those lines across, under, over? that road.
under the road.
Yeah, but so I mean, you have plans to dig that out. I mean, I'm sure that involves some permission slips from the municipality.
I'm having a terrible time finding whether it's city or county maintained. Where it ended up is, someone here told me that it was a city maintained road and referred me to, engineering. Have the name of a guy, an engineering company who was, given some specs as to what would have to be done or to get under the existing water line.
Copy. Councilman London, any questions for the gentleman presenting?
Well, concern.
Fair enough.
So you're gonna build a house on one side of the road and put the
That's why they were
septic tank on the other side of the road.
Which I'd never heard of.
Well,
Apparently it's
let me finish my thought. So the septic tank is gonna be across the road in front of some of the residents' homes. The field line. So if something damaged that field line, then the sewer and everything else can run into the neighbor's home.
That's right.
I just a comment. I'm just thought on your mind. I don't know if I want field line in front of my house going down here. It looks like it's going downhill on the other side of the road. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, Councilwoman Cuellar, any questions for the gentleman?
Yes, Mr. Castleberry, that was, I am the council representative for this district. I heard from several of the residents that live around your property, sir. Many of them said they were not aware of what was being planned, what was being requested. And one of them, Mr. Higgins, sent every council member a letter and stated that he had met with you and that was one of his major concerns was the septic tank where you're planning to put it. And if there are problems in the future, you'd have sewage running down to his house. He is not someone who's not aware of these things. He is a project manager in an architectural firm with over 30 years of experience in the field. He noted that he had spoken with you and had expressed some of these concerns. He said the other concern is with the having to dig under Hillsedge Road, which is a city-owned road. We maintain that road, and breaking up the road, it's a single lane. There are no shoulders, and what it will do to the residents who have to, many of them walk, many of them have homes, they have to cross that road, and sir, that would just be disrupting. And then you have the runoff that would also be taking place. They noted that, if he does rezone it to residential, there was a developer that was there that was looking to put up not 2 homes, but actually 4 homes. And they're concerned about that as well. So the fact that you've got a home on one side and then a septic tank on the other, and it goes down to the people in Cahaba Valley, and you're going to tear up the road, that's asking a bit much, sir. Quite frankly, if you leave it as A1, you can still build a home. So why are you wanting it rezoned to R1 when you can still build a home if it's A1?
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about the septic tank situation. First of all, I haven't spoken to Mr. Higgins. We had a number of conversations when I first started this project. But he is aware because of an inspection kit that sits up there on where the field lines are, that is the plan. This is something that has been done in other places in that area. Many properties where the septic system is on the other side of the road. That's not unheard of at all. It happened at that mountain wood piece of property right down over gated area right down. Mr. Higgins' septic system is even closer to these people that my homes.
His mother's septic system is even closer to him.
It doesn't run down like the slope, sir. I asked to look at it. So the question is, you can build a home on an A1. Why are you wanting the rezoning to R1 when you can build a home if it stays A1?
I don't want the open side. I don't want the lot next to Jerome's because I'm not gonna build a big house on it.
But you understand the concerns of the residents, what can happen with a developer coming in. And this is setting a precedent, sir. It is setting a precedent. And it opens the door for other things to happen. If we do it for you, it opens the door for us to have to do it for others. And that's the concern of the residents.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cuellar. Councilman Box.
I'll say this, the septic tank issue, Jefferson County Health Department will handle that. I do kind of question with Councilwoman Cuellar that if you've got 3 acres on one side of the road, you can build your house there and put your septic tank there and do it under the A1, as far as I know, unless the legal tells us there's some issue that requires you to build a certain size house on the 3 acres. If there's not an issue there, then that seems like a non-issue. And that's really the only comment I have. Our thing with the septic tank, Jefferson County's not going to let him put a septic tank in that's going to cascade down the mountain to other people, because it's going to be deep enough in the ground, and the leach field is going to be deep enough in the ground. I live on a lake with 53 houses or 30 houses, and all of us have septic tanks around it. We have our lake tested yearly, sometimes twice a year, and even we have springs in the lake, so we don't have any issues with septic tanks getting into the lake. But I do see it being an issue trying to cross a road with your field line. So that's my comments on it. I think there's another citizen that wants
Yeah,
to.
we'll get to Mr. Ross.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. One moment for me, Ross. Councilman Sims.
I'm going to take a pause and allow.
Copy. Yes, sir.
I think y'all get a little hard. Thank you. It's kind of all the time. I've got to put a water line in. I'm not digging up the road, I'm boring up. That's the city board roads all the time without tearing the asphalt up. Instead of me cutting the asphalt, they'll charge me $1,000 to board. Well, I understand that. Jefferson County is not gonna let him put sewer lines that are gonna affect somebody else. This is this gentleman's property. We don't need, if he wants to split it up, he's not, I can't see any problem with it. And I don't have a dog in the hunt, but I think we've got some misinformation there about septic tanks, other water lines and things that he's got to do. It's all gonna be controlled. He's not gonna have to say anything. They're gonna tell him what size tank you can put in, where the fill lines are. My house is on a septic tank. It doesn't run across the road. If something fails, you can have a failure that can be fixed.
I appreciate your perspective, Ross.
What about the current utility lines that are there? That's a concern that the residents have if you're going to start digging up.
We
You got
appreciate your
current
feedback.
ones.
We appreciate point of order, guys. Point of order.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay.
Point of order. Thank you. All right.
Let's move on. Septic system on my side of the road. There's simply not enough level ground.
Thank you. Mayor, did we have any feedback from our city engineer when this was passed? They're usually passed with certification for our city engineer. Do we have any pushback on this whatsoever?
No.
Okay, so our city engineer stamped off that this rezoning was okay.
Well, everything in planning and zoning is usually approved with
Contingent.
subject to the city engineer's approval.
So if it made it to our desk, then it's been approved by the city of engineer. Okay.
I would
Copy.
say
All right. Any other cases against this rezoning before we close this public hearing?
I think Councilman Sims, did you?
I just wanted to ask the city attorney real quick. It was mentioned concern about multifamily coming in. That cannot go in R1, correct? Right. So someone would have to come request that. And thank you.
It would have to be rezoned. It would have to go through a similar process and be rezoned to an accommodating zoning. He cannot just sell it as it is and multifamily be brought in. And the reason for the rezoning is the lot size. As he mentioned earlier, he doesn't have the need for that additional acreage, which is why it's coming into an R, because the lot size requirements are smaller. Does that help you, Councilman Box, a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Any other comments against this rezoning before we close this public hearing? Okay, we have no more comments on this public hearing.
Motion closed.
Motion to close. Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Let's get myself together here. All right. Item number 4, motion to enter in our 4th public hearing.
Motion in the 4th public hearing.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the City Council of the City of Irondale will hear comments from interested citizens for a change of zoning from A1 Agricultural District to E1 Estate District for the property located in proposed Lot 2B of the resurvey of Lots 2 and 3 of Porter Estates property located at 3129 Old Ivy Road, Irondale, Alabama 35210. I would like to hear from the presenter of this case. We do not have anyone. Yes, sir.
Engineer was supposed to be here, but he didn't show up.
Okay.
I'm George Sutter. I live at 3127 on that. Neighbor has 5 acres. It's kind of equally divided with a creek. I've offered to buy everything on my side of the creek, and she wants to sell it. I think that's kind of a done deal. I don't know if we're talking about that right now. What I want to do with the 1 3/4 acres I buy is while we're recording the map, going all that trouble, is just go ahead and make a 3rd lot. So it'll be a 1.8 acre lot that I really don't plan on doing anything on it just yet. But I just want to go ahead and get it done where I'd be able to. I wasn't sure anybody here, and I'm not gonna do anything to damage the neighborhood because I live right next door.
Now, there were some proposed uses that was mentioned at the P&Z meeting.
Well, I have a daughter that I'd like to live there. If she wants it, I'll give it to her. But at this point, I don't have a set of plans, and I don't even have a submission from her.
Copy.
So I'm gonna buy it as long as you allow, but I'd like to go ahead after we record the map. And because of the size of it, it'll be an equal.
Gotcha. Okay. Before we hear from our council dais and everything, thank you very much. Please keep yourself available. All right. Any comments for this rezoning? For this rezoning? Okay. Anyone, and before I continue, this was fully approved by planning and zoning when it came up for that meeting. Just to kind of paint the picture a little bit what he's saying, he's obviously got a neighbor. She has a lot, a creek runs through it. And then, so it kind of divides her lot in half. He's got a lot next door. He wants to divide the portion that's on his side of the creek that belongs to her, and then turn that lot into an extra lot there. As far as the map is concerned, it was originally, I believe the ask was originally R1, but we had a conversation about that in planning and zoning, that we did not want to set a precedence for R in that particular area because the lots are so large. So we talked about going to an estate zoning, which is a higher level zoning, and the reason because of that, it would force the lot not to necessarily stay as large as the current zoning, but much larger than what residential specified. So it was originally, we talked about residential, but we asked him to go ahead and change that request to estate, which he did. So those are some of the work that has been done up to this moment. Anybody else for this rezoning other than the speaker? Anybody against this zoning? Yes, sir. In the back, Ross, I saw your hand first.
Thank you. My name is Ross Graham. I'm representing my sister who lives in Old Ivy. And when Old Ivy was set up, it's 2.5, it's a couple 2.5 acre lots, most of them are 5 acres. I think there's a deed restriction in there where those lots cannot be subdivided. There's been 2 instances when you turn down Old Ivy, a house right on the corner of Old Ivy and
Brian?
the gentleman built his house right on the corner, then wanted to subdivide his lot. He wasn't able to do it because of deed restrictions. Because of deed restrictions and can't subdivide those lots. If you go down to the intersection, the house right on the right tried that. And they couldn't do it. What you're doing is you're going to separate a lot, even though it's on that side of the creek. Then all of a sudden you're putting a 1 acre lot in a subdivision that was built for 2.5 to 5 acre lots. So I don't think that lot can be subdivided because of the deed restrictions. Plus, if you do that, you're going to set a precedent where anybody in there can subdivide their property. And that was not the intent of that subdivision.
So Ross, question for you. So I know this was discussed, covenants and things of that nature. We didn't have any covenants on the books that we were able to find at planning and
It
zoning.
won't be in a covenant, it'll be in a deed restriction.
Okay, we weren't.
All those lots were sold with a deed restriction recorded
Okay.
about subdividing those lots.
And we didn't find any deed restrictions either.
Did y'all do a title research?
I'm unsure the work that Butch and the engineer did prior to that meeting.
I talked to Butch about it, and Butch hadn't done anything on it.
Okay.
I don't think it's right to subdivide that when you. I haven't looked at it. I was going by Jerry Ash, who's a fireman, and I didn't know this was coming up till tonight. You know, well, you may want to bypass this to see what you got on deed restrictions, but I think there's a recorded deed restriction on it.
Okay. Before we get into the fors and the against, thank you, Ross. I appreciate that. Before we get into the fors and the against, with the possibility of there being a deed restriction, I'd be curious as what the body says. Councilman London?
Well, if there is one, we need to take a look at it. I mean, we need to take a look at it.
Councilman McQuayer?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I've received several calls and several of the A1 owners, because it's all A1, are very concerned. You've got stipulations that are set up, and again, to divide it, to subdivide the property into E1 is setting a precedent, and there's nothing to prevent this from happening in other areas. And that's a concern the residents have, and they're valid concerns. And you have the pictures. I wish that the planning and zoning would have had pictures and not a map, because when you look at the map, it doesn't appear to be problematic. When you actually go out there and look at the property, yeah, they have legitimate concerns.
Councilwoman, let's focus on the deed issue for now, because if this is going to come back up again, we can get into is it appropriate and does it set a precedence? I'm more concerned about your thoughts on the deed issue.
Yeah, I wish that the deed issue would have been resolved before it came to the council. That's what P&Z's role is. Unearth everything before you bring something to us so that we don't have to deal with it, postpone it, and then come back to discuss it. It isn't fair to the residents. We need to make sure that we have every stone unturned so that we can deal with it.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Box?
Deed restrictions, if we can research those, if there's actual proof that those do exist, I think we need to know about it before we move this. Revisiting some of the others, it may be that we need to postpone most of these until we get notifications, deed restrictions, and things move a little further, some more information for us.
Gotcha. Councilman Sims?
I mean, if it is restricted from being divided, then we can't put a zoning on a lot that's not going to exist. So
Fair enough.
I think we should probably determine that.
All right. So we have postponed. Yeah. I'm just going to keep us in public hearing right now, just because we might need the shelter of it. So we've agreed to postpone item number 1. We talked about the C1 to the A1. All right. We've talked about the other one, item number 3, the A1 to R1, and now we're talking about the A1 to E1. So if this is, while we're still in public hearing here, regarding the deed restriction, I'm hearing postpone. Is that accurate?
I would agree.
Hey, can I
Okay.
ask legal a question?
Sure, please.
Legal. We have a lot public hearings on the agenda tonight. Would it be feasible for us to get through the first reading and then bring it back with the thought of the research? To get through the first reading?
And then bring
everything back.
continue the public hearing until the second reading.
Correct.
Yes, that's fine.
It's just a suggestion.
Could you repeat that, please?
So basically, Councilman Lennon was asking a procedural question, okay? When we pass these, when these items come up for deliberation, they go through an ordinance process. An ordinance process has 3 steps to it, one of which is to consider the ordinance read. An ordinance has to be read at least one time with unanimous consent that ordinance was considered read. And then we continue to go through our process, various other steps, to make sure that it can go through to approval. Once again, if we suspend the rules and we go through all 3 steps in one session, everything needs to be unanimous for the most part. Now, if we do an initial reading, we go ahead and we get it out there and we read it, and then it would most likely, based on the process, probably fail at that moment. And then it can be brought back up at the next meeting and would only need a majority. So it gives us the ability to do a first reading, okay? Most likely not take any action, give us 2 weeks to do our due diligence, and then reapproach it without having to have a public hearing or just needing a majority to pass it. My only concern with that is, Councilman Lennon and I appreciate that speed of process, is that I would probably be, in legal, if I'm mistaken on this, please counsel me, I'm in uncharted territory on this. But if we would be able to have another public hearing if we saw fit. That's correct on that? If we postponed the public hearing or did not come up with any conclusions? Just continue it? Okay. Copy that. Okay, fair enough. Just based on especially on this one with the deed restriction, I'm in favor of postponing.
Okay.
One moment for us while we continue.
That's good. I'm good.
Councilwoman Quay, are you good with the
No,
postponing?
I'd like to postpone it as well.
Okay, Councilman Box?
Yes, let's, we're talking postpone number 4.
Postpone number 4 is what we're talking about specifically in this one. Okay, and Councilman Sims?
Yeah, I agree. We need to make sure that it can actually be divided.
Copy that. Okay. So while you have a question while we're in public hearing, we'll go ahead and accept that. Whoever that was that raised their...
The people on the northern side of the road do have restrictions. They're Bryan Estates. I could go into detail, but I've been down to the county looking for some kind of restrictions because I've heard these questions. I couldn't find them. Nobody in the county could help me find them.
Okay.
Border estates on the other side of the road did not have the restrictions. So that's good things, but I think he's talking about Bryan Estates.
I would on this one, I would take a trust but verify stance on that. So I think that's what we're advocating. I've heard the same argument at P&Z, and I appreciate that. I understand there's a difference between where you're at and some of the other things that might be quoted, but I would prefer to take a trust but verify before we sign off on the rezoning. We'll have our people and our city engineers take a look at it and just double check everything. If you would supply us a copy of that, that would be fantastic. Yes, sir. That's accurate. Cool. Thank you so much. Okay. So for this one, we would be postponing it. So yes, we would have another public hearing.
So any concerns can be expressed at that time.
Absolutely. All right. So that being said, I say we go ahead and close this public hearing.
Motion to close.
Motion to close. Second. Sorry.
Motion to post.
Motion to postpone it.
Continue.
Gotcha. Motion to continue this. Thank you very much.
Legally.
Do we need to?
Continue.
Thank you.
Well, the first one that
Do we know it's gonna be continued?
We did. We're gonna have to retrace that. And the first one would need to be continued as well.
Yes, and we probably need some good coaching. on it.
Let's wait for this to clear out.
You're
Yeah,
not
the-
gonna send out any more notices?
There won't be any more
will we
notices
know
sent
either?
out.
The next council meeting's when it's coming up. And when that will be when?
The very first.
September 5th, first Tuesday after. Thank you.
Now, I know we postponed the first one, but I think we closed that public hearing, so we need to amend the record that we continued item number 1. That public hearing, we closed that public hearing. We would need to just notate it that we continued that one.
Okay.
Okay, we're good on that one? Okay, perfect. All right. So we have managed to keep 2 and 3 on. So that being said, when we look at our new business, our ordinances, we just need to move forward. And so public hearing number 1, 4999, item number 1 under regular business would be removed for this time. And then the 4th case would tie into, item number 4 is 3129. 3129, perfect. Just want to double check they're in order. That would be the 4th item under new business that we would go ahead and remove for that agenda since we postponed those 2 public hearings.
Removing item 1 and
1 and 4 under new business because they're tied to those public hearings.
Continue.
Continued.
sorry.
Continued, absolutely. Thank you. Okay. So now that we're through our public hearings, we'll go ahead and we will deliberate the items that are set to be on our agenda. All right. Item number 1, resolve that resolution 2022 R149 authorizes the city of Irondale to enter into an agreement with the Alabama Department of Transportation for a lease of an area of right-of-way east of Highway 78 to be used as a canoe launch for the city of Irondale. Mayor, I know you explained that to me a little bit, but if you could just enlighten us as a group.
Yes, the canoe launch, the land is owned by Freshwater Land Trust. The parking lot is ALDOT. We are entering into an agreement with ALDOT to be able to use the parking lot for the canoe launch.
Thank you. All right. Councilman London, any questions there?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
In layman's terms, Irondale needs the right of way for the canoe launch. And so that's the agreement with ALDOT. It will enable us to have the right of way for the canoe launch.
Thank you. Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
All right, and myself, no questions as well. Item number 2, resolve that resolution 2022 R150 authorizes the city of Irondale to enter into an agreement with Goodwin Mills Kaywood for professional design services for Ruffner Ballpark in the amount not to exceed $170,000. Now, this item and item number 3 are similar in nature and regarding their funding source and what they are doing. Mayor, if you could speak to those 2 for us.
Yes, I can. Well, we know that we've been trying to get something done at Ruffner since I became mayor and before I became mayor. The previous agreement that we had, things didn't work out. We parted ways. I began to have conversations with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood, who is one of the top engineering firms as well, architectural firms, and they deal in parks and fields and all of those things. So I wanted to give them the opportunity to be able to finish what we began at Ruffner Park, or what people would like to see at Ruffner Park. Since we moved the dog park to Ellert, we're going to keep Ruffner as an athletic complex. There's no need of getting rid of baseball fields and then trying to find another place to build fields when we already have them there. So we're looking for a total upgrade of Ruffner, which means tearing everything down to the ground and building up everything new. That's where the $170,000 is not going to be paid at one time, but it will probably be paid over 6 months to a year's time. As certain parts of the project is completed, that's when payment will be made. The second item is one that I am very proud of and encouraged that the city will move in this direction is to be able to build a brand new library for our city. The library across from City Hall has been there for about 50, 60 years. It's no longer adequate to be able to provide our citizens with the services that we need. I'm talking about the building, I'm not talking about the staff. So I wanted to make sure that nobody ran out of here tonight and said that the mayor was talking about the library's staff, because I believe that we have one of the greatest staffs with Dale and Michelle. I call them a radio talk show host when I get a chance to be able to meet with them. But we've been talking for the last 2 months about building a brand new library, looking for a spot to be able to do that. Charles Williams and Associates has been working with them during that time, and it's only fair that if you're going to have someone to be able to work with a group, you can't expect them to continue to be able to do that for free. The $489,000 is not a lump sum payment. It will probably take us a couple of years to be able to go through the whole process. However, we do need to start the process. We do not need to delay it any longer, because when you begin to delay things, typically they do not take place. That's what we have in these 2 items here. To be able to build a brand new athletic facility at Ruffner Park, and to be able to build one of the finest libraries in Jefferson County, expanding from 8,000 square feet to 16,000 square feet, and to be able to provide all of the new technology and ideas now that libraries are being used for.
All right, thank you for the explanation on both of those. We'll take them one at a time. Councilman London, any questions about Ruffner?
No, but to all you that concerned, playground is coming. Thank you.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes. What I did with both of these items, these contracts, was I believe that we're putting the cart before the horse. And the reason I say that is because I'm a numbers person, and we've taken on a considerable amount of debt over this year. $5.6 million for the Zamora Temple. And the understanding that we had here with the Zamora Temple was that we would do this on a short-term bond basis, which means that that $5.6 million would be paid over the next 3 years so as not to pass this on to the next administration in 2025. That means $2 million in 2023. We're also doing $2 million for road pavement in 2023. We also purchased a fire engine. That lease will come up in 2023. We have excavators. That part of the second part will come up in 2023. We also approved raises for our employees for next year, about $1.1 million on top of what they're already being made. And I would like for us to have a budget for 2023 so that we have a clear picture of where we're going to be. It doesn't matter if we're going to be paying this in phases. I'm not against the ballparks. I'm not against the library. But as a financial person and one who is entrusted by our residents with watching our finances, I first want to see a budget before we move forward with any additional things. This is simply for architecture. The ballpark, everything else that goes with it, $2.5 million. That's what they're basing their fees on. The library, $10 million. We don't even have a location for the library, but we're hiring an architect to do it. We have to pay to acquire whatever property or land we're going to get. I would like for us to pause, postpone. There is no rush to do this. We don't need to rush. We can wait till we do our budget, then we can move forward. Again, it's not against the ballparks. It's not against the library. I'm a friend of the library. And there's nothing that would excite me more than to go on and do this. But first, let's take a look at where we stand financially. That's my comment. I'm asking that we would postpone this until we have our budget. We can take a look and see where we stand. We also have our water department, large expenditures there, $6.2 million. That's over a 2-year time frame is what Jared said it would take to make those improvements that impact all of our residents who are reliant on our water services.
Councilwoman Cuellar, we just want to keep it to the library and
Okay.
the
I
and,
just
and
took
the.
both of them.
I understand. So your comments stand for both of those.
Yes.
Councilman Box.
Okay, so we're not doing it one at a time. We're keeping it to, we're doing both of them now?
Well, no, she decided to comment on both of them, so I'll allow her comments to
Well, the
stand
mayor
on both of
commented on
them.
both of them. That's why I'm commenting.
I
on
asked
both
him
of
to
them.
Well, the
introduce
council
both of them
president
because
asked me-
they were tied together.
Okay.
So I
Yes.
asked him to go ahead and
Right.
instead of repeat himself.
Right. He asked
Exactly.
me to be
Right,
able
and
to.
so I did the same thing so that I wouldn't repeat myself.
Okay, fair enough. Councilman Box.
I think I'll just address one at a time. if that's
Outstanding.
Okay. If I'm not misunderstanding, and the gentleman's here, he introduced himself earlier, this is not going to actually turn any dirt, build any fields, put any fences up or anything like that. This is just going to give us the engineered drawings or the scope or the plan. It's going to give us engineered drawings, scopes and plans. Can I get answers on those things from
Sure, absolutely. Please, by all means.
Absolutely. Council President, Council Members, my name is Keith Strickland. I'm with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood. We provide this. I apologize. Keith Strickland with Goodwin Mills, Kaywood. Is it working?
I don't think it's working.
After a certain amount of time, it automatically turns off. All right, thank you.
Let me see that one. No.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
It's battery's dead.
Company been there.
You got you.
Feel free
You gotta
to.
get closer to the mic.
Thank you.
Third time's the charm.
I'm going to hold it here.
There
How
you
about
go.
that?
There you go.
Okay. So I put the proposal together, me and my landscape architect, and to answer your question, yes, this is for landscape architecture and civil engineering design services. That's what the proposal is for. It does not turn dirt. What it gives you the ability to do is to get to the step where you can turn dirt, because right now you don't have a set of plans in order to bid and to receive bids from contractors. So this proposal will allow for that design element that allow us to get to the point where we can advertise the project for construction, accept bids from contractors, and then work with the contractor to construct.
Okay. Just a comment on that. I don't have a problem moving forward with it because we've got to do something to get started. I guess that we need this service. I would like to explore or have some answers on using design build companies so you can get design and build from the same companies. But with that said, I don't have any more questions on this.
Noted. Councilman Sims, any comments on the first item that we're addressing right now?
You mentioned about the funding source. I was just curious what the funding source for, and I assume it's for both.
Well, the funding source, if everybody can remember what we did in March of 22, we had a property tax increase that we said that we would use for things that our citizens could see, enjoy, feel, and take advantage of, or to be able to enjoy those things. That money begins to come in 23. That could be one of the funding sources. We're also looking at grants, ADECA. There are other opportunities that are out there, but that's just one of the ways that we could do it, Councilman Sims.
When do the taxes come in? I mean, doesn't that kick in October 2023? And we won't start seeing that until the latter part of 2023?
But like I just said, you know, I'm trying my best to speak to the issue, Councilwoman Cuellar, because you keep trying to speak to me about the issue, but I'm trying my best to speak to what the issue is and answer everybody's question instead of trying to slant it in my favor when I respond to them. So if you would just let me answer the questions when I'm asked, I really would appreciate that.
But you just stated that to Councilman Sims. I was just repeating what you said, sir.
The money will be here in 23. We start to
October
collect
of
it in
2023, correct?
Yes.
Right, okay. October 2023.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councilman London, on the second issue that the mayor commented on?
No.
Okay. Councilman Box, any comments about the second issue that the mayor commented on?
No, the mayor's kind of explained to me on this second issue that it's more of a long-term payment, which as long as it's not a lump sum, I'm okay with it.
Copy. Councilman Sims?
No questions.
Thank you very much. All right, so these past two items, they are initially on the consent agenda. The Alabama Department of Transportation lease, would we agree to keep that on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 2 is on the consent agenda. Would we agree to keep that on consent?
No.
We've been asked to move item number 2 to the regular agenda. Please act accordingly. Item number 3 would be, which we've already made some comments on it, but that would be 2022 R151, authorizing the city of Irondale to enter into an agreement with Charles Williams and Associates for agricultural and engineering service for a library facility in the amount not to exceed $489,800 even. Mayor has given us her comments on that. That is on the consent agenda. Would we keep that on the consent agenda?
No.
We've been asked to move that to regular agenda. Act accordingly when we introduce it. Item number 4, Resolution 2022 R152 authorizes the donation of $10,000 to the Shades Valley High School for use by the Shades Valley football team. I understand this as a funding source from education. Councilman London, any questions?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
Do we agree to keep this item on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody says yes. Outstanding. Just make some notes here. Reg. And reg. All right. Nope, not reg. You're reg. Perfect. Item number 5, resolve the resolution 2022 R153 authorizes the allocation of public funds in the amount of $30,000 from fiscal year 2021-2022 fiscal year discretionary fund of Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. to be used exclusively for the 135th anniversary music festival on September 25th, 2022 at Beacon Park. Councilman Lennon, any questions?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No, other than just that this money is budgeted and it will be coming from the mayor's discretionary fund.
Thank you.
So I'm good with that.
Councilman Box?
No questions. I would like to increase that amount with an allotment from my discretionary funds to help with the mayor in April. I'm not sure exactly what's left, but I think 1,000 or 2,000 should be there.
I'll put in 1,000.
Okay.
Thank you all.
All right, so we've got the item as addressed would be 30,000 changing to 33, okay, with 30 coming.
34.
34, okay. So 34, 30 coming from the mayor, 1 coming from Councilman London, 1 coming from Sims, Councilman Sims, and 1 coming from Councilman Box. 2 coming from Councilman Box, okay? So,
That makes 34.
Yep, that makes 34.
I thought you were going to.
We'll sit tight. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. I think we seem to be well represented in our funding for this event. So. Fantastic. So when this is introduced, once again, please act accordingly. That being stated as amended, we can agree to keep this on consent, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right. Item number 6 came off because of that that hearing that we struck. Item number
6 postponed or?
No, 6 was, let's see here, one
removed.
second. No, that was just asked to be removed from the agenda completely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Item number 7 on consent would be resolve the resolution 2022 R155 appoints Robert Chapman to the Municipal Housing Code Abatement Board for District 3 for a term ending in 2022 of 2024. Councilman Lennon, any questions on this?
Is Mr. Chapman here tonight?
No, Mr. Chaplain was unable to be here tonight because he's on vacation with his family. That was planned long before the appointment. But
Thank
he
you.
was at the abatement board meeting, which was held last Wednesday, and he has met the board members.
Councilman Lennon, since this is Councilwoman Cuellar's nominee and he's not here to represent himself, do you have any specific questions?
No, I just wanted a meeting. That's
Okay, copy. Councilwoman Cuellar, any comments?
Know that I'm making this appointment to fill the vacancy for District 3. Our representative was Marty Schwartz, and he was serving as the chairman of the abatement board and resigned. He had been serving for, I want to say, about 7 years, did a wonderful job. Very pleased with what the abatement board is doing. And we had this vacancy, and it is one that the District 3 council member makes that appointment. So that's why I appointed Robert Chapman.
Okay, Councilman Box, any questions there?
No questions.
All right, Councilman Sims, any questions?
So he's just completing a term, correct?
His term will expire in 2024.
Do you know how long those terms are for?
Those are 4-year terms.
Thank you.
So because of Marty's resignation, this
Right.
gentleman will be filling the term,
Yes.
and then at the end of that term, he could apply to serve a full term.
Correct.
And as far as my comments are concerned, Marty has been great. I've served with him on multiple boards. Marty, if you're listening, we appreciate you, and thank you for all that you have given the city. And Godspeed on your further endeavors. Let's see here. We can agree to keep that on consent.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 8, the final item that we have on our drafted consent would be Resolution 2022 R156 that authorizes the allocation of public funds in the amount of $250 from the fiscal year 2021-2022 discretionary fund of Councilor Aaron Sims to be used exclusively for purchasing of reflective markers and numbering for mailboxes of disabled and elderly residents in the Holiday Gardens neighborhood. Councilman Lennon, any questions for Councilman Sims?
Councilman Sims, would you like me to add another 250 to that?
I'm sure the neighborhood association would love that.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Cuellar?
I have no problems with it.
Okay. Councilman Box?
No problem.
And then Councilman Sims, anything else you want to say about that item?
No, if there's no questions, no.
Okay. So we've got that raise from 250 to 500, with 250 coming from Councilman London, 250 coming from Councilman Sims. I'm glad I'm not introducing this agenda tonight. Can we agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Outstanding. All right. Let's get into the regular business. Let's see here. So the first public hearing was continued. Therefore, item number 1, bless you. Item number 1 will be that item will be removed from new business. Item number 2 would be the rezoning for 2616 Floyd Bradford Road. We've had our public hearing on that. Item number 3 would be the ordinance regarding 4283 Hills Edge Road. We've had our public hearing on that. Item number 4 is removed because that hearing was continued. Item number 5, ordain that ordinance 2022-19 modifies Chapter 18, Article I, Division 2, Section 18 through 14 of the Municipal Code of the City of Irondale, Alabama, related to minimum water usage and water rates. Mayor, do you care to walk us through that one for just a quick second?
Which one is that?
That would be item number 5 under regular business regarding the water usage and water rates.
Yes, what we're doing with this particular ordinance here, we're reducing the minimum usage from 2,000 gallons down to 1,500 gallons.
Gotcha. Councilman London, any questions for the mayor on this?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
So we're reducing the minimum usage to 1,500, and the water rates, are they the same?
The water rates remain the same.
Okay, so 1,500, and it would be that rate that was for 2,000, correct?
Say that one more time.
So if
Councilwoman?
we've got a 1,500 minimum, the water rate that was for 2,000 now is the water rate for 1,500.
That's correct.
Okay.
Councilman Box, any questions?
No, Councilwoman Cuellar cleared it up.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
And then, once again, just sidebar, this goes effective October the 1st.
Yes.
Outstanding. All right. That being said, moving on to the next one, that would be under regular and ordain that ordinance 2022-20 modifies Chapter 7.5, Section 7.5-15 of the Municipal Code for the City of Irondale, Alabama, related to the garbage fees. Similar situation there, Mayor?
Yes, we when we enacted the last increase, the rates went up the month, or probably a couple of weeks after that. The fees went from $25 a ton to about $50 a ton. However, now they've settled down. When we did the bid at the last meeting, it was $36 a ton. So there's still $11 increase in tonnage. And then we have also had an increase in fuel prices as well.
And those changes will also go into effect October 1st?
They will go in effect October 1st, and it's only a $2 increase from $25 to $27.
Thank you very much. All right. So that is the deliberating of all of the agendas, regular and consent. Now, everything, I know we've moved a couple of things from the consent agenda to the regular. Let me double check something. Consent, okay. All right. So item number 2 is a resolution being moved to the regular agenda. That can go through standard resolution protocols. Let's see here. Item number 3 in consent is also a resolution. My ultimate point here is as we get into the regular agenda, everything else beyond that is an ordinance would need to go through the appropriate process, the items that are sticking. Fair enough?
We'll do those two first, is that correct?
No, we'll go ahead and we'll just go in the order. We'll address the first 2 resolutions that came off the consent.
Right.
And then we will move forward. I just know we moved some resolutions off of consent, and sometimes we have to do resolutions on the regular through the ordinance. So I was just saying, hey, we don't have to do these for these 2 resolutions that we moved to regular agenda. Savvy? Okay. That being said, at this time, if we could get a 1 second. I have scratched this thing up left, right, and sideways. If I could get an approval for the form of the agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the form of the agenda when we figure out what it is.
With the appropriate modifications being?
Yes, okay. So we will say that on the consent agenda, we will continue with item 4. Correct? 5, 7, and 8.
You have 1 also.
1.
1 as well.
Yep.
So
1.
item 1, 4, 5, 7, and 8 under consent agenda. And then under new business, we will have item number 2, item 3, item 5, 6. That's it.
And items
Items 2 and 3 from the consent
From
agenda.
the consent agenda.
And
Yeah, it-
removing item 6 from the consent agenda.
Okay.
We have a motion with various inputs on this agenda. I do believe both counselors have parlayed to introduce this agenda correctly. That being said, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Box. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The motion, approve the form of the agenda has been passed. This is a rough one. All right. At this time, we would take public comments on agenda items only. So these would be outside of the public hearing. We're done with the public hearing. All right. So we're not discussing those items any longer. We are just talking about the other items that have specifically been deliberated. Yes, sir.
I was wanted to speak on this agenda on the library. And I'm not against the library, get me wrong. But do we have a site for a library yet?
We have a proposed site.
Well, I mean, if we don't have a site, how can we design a building for a site we don't have?
We didn't say that we were getting ready to start on the design this week. We said that we've been working with an individual that's been helping with thoughts, planning, and all of those different things. And before you can purchase a piece of land, the first thing you want to do to see if the building would fit on the site. So you wouldn't buy the land and then determine if the building would fit on the site, because that's after the fact.
But you don't design a building and then start looking for a piece of land to put it on. I think that the cost of fuel we've had this year, we don't have a budget yet. I think she was right on, we need a budget before we can start spending this money. I mean, our fuel costs have tripled this year? Mayor, what's our fuel cost done this year?
I can't say that it's triple. I don't have the numbers in front of
Gas
me.
prices have gone up.
But if you want to come down to City Hall, we can sit down and have a conversation about it.
Let's keep it with the library if we may.
Well, I'm just saying that we're spending money and proposing to spend money when we could put this off 6 months, get a budget, see where we are in our budget, see what our obligations are before we kick this down the road. And I didn't understand tonight, we've already put this on a consent agenda before anybody got to ask questions about it. Shouldn't we have?
We have not approved the consent agenda at this moment. We've only introduced the regular agenda, but we have not approved the consent agenda yet.
What about the, also on the ball fields, what about the money we've already spent? Have we gotten anything for it?
Let's go ahead and let's move through this one real quick. If you would be more than happy to come back up. I'm just looking for any, because plus we already hit the 2 minute on that one. So let's just keep it topic by topic.
Thank you.
All right. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much.
My name is Kim Hartley, and I reside at 2304 4th Avenue South. I have a question about a number of things on the agenda, but they're all just short questions. First of all, on the items where we have requested professional design or architectural work, are those items that we should bid out, or how do we select those companies?
The gentleman behind you would be, if adopted, would be the one in charge of the bids.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, for us to select like Charles Williams and Associates, how did we go about that?
Let me answer that for you. When you are doing professional services, you don't have to bid out professional services.
Okay. That answers that question. Second, on the property at 2616 Floyd Bradford Road, and I'm just reading from the agenda, it indicates it's in Trustful instead of in Irondale. So I'm just wondering, do we know that it's in Irondale?
We do.
Okay, because we certainly wouldn't want to vote on something not in Irondale. Then on the ordinance about the water rates, if we're reducing the minimum water usage, how will that affect our sewer rates? Because sewer rates are tied in with what you pay for your water.
Is this your final question?
I got one last one.
Go ahead and ask it.
Well, it's more of a statement. I just object to, I'm personally opposed to anything that will cause an increase to our citizens, like on the garbage fees, or if the water rates would affect what citizens pay for sewer and water is also.
Noted.
And that's it.
Noted. Mayor, just to confirm, our water rates have nothing to do with Jeffco Sewer. We still report X amount of gallons to Jeffco, and that's how they adjust their pricing.
We only record the water usage, and then we send the water usage to the county, and the county then, through their formula, dictates or determine what your sewer rates are going to be.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council President Spivey, Irondale Council, Mayor. I'm here to talk about the library, and timing's everything. That's the key. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. My wife and I love the library and the people. And I agree, it's cozy right now. It's a nice way to put it. I was talking to a friend of mine, but we need more. Now, I have several questions, and so they're kind of like, depends on the answers about which way I go. So first question I have is the AE firm cost of $490,000 is based upon a total project cost of, I've heard numbers, but total cost, what is that number?
Little under 10 million.
Around 10 million?
9.7, I believe.
Okay, does that include furnishings and computer? It's everything, land?
I have no idea.
I'll let you all answer. Y'all answer everything else before I get a chance. But
I would completely defer to the mayor on this item.
it includes everything.
Everything. Okay.
Everything.
Not a dime more. That's good. 10 million. Okay. Now my other question related to that is, since this is, I was looking back at the 22 for 22, and then I saw the monthly newsletter after that, and that's where I saw, that we're getting a library as part of the 22 for 22. So my question is, since ISS signed a contract to provide, and I got the list of items they were to provide, which includes everything that you need. It's 7 items and then et cetera. And one of their items was the cost of the library. So I'm assuming, well, let me just ask the question. Has ISS provided Irondale with the cost of the library since it's part of their contract? I'm hearing $10 million. Is that where the $10 million came from?
Can you tell us who is ISS or who you were?
Oh, ISS is.
I believe that was
iSolutions.
iSolutions. iSolutions is a contract that we signed.
Yeah.
We never contracted.
$1,700.
Yeah, there was a resolution
voted against.
2022 R35.
Okay, but we never engaged them, even though we approved the resolution. We never spent a dime with them, nor did we sign the contract with them, although the resolution was adopted.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. Okay. So back to my question is, now they would have been the ones, but so where did the $10 million, the total cost, including everything, where'd that come from?
The $10 million came from the current price per square footage to build anything in the construction industry is $400 a square foot. We then took the proposed size for the library, which is to multiply it from 8,000 square feet to 16,000 square feet. So you multiply the 400 times the 16,000 square feet, that would give you the price of the building. There was also $1.5 million in soft cost. Site preparation, and the additional monies after that is the soft cost that is a part of the project from geotech, architect engineering, and the furnishings for the building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments. I allowed you to go way past the 2-minute mark because there was some dialogue back and forth.
Well, thank you. And one final point, 30 seconds, if I may ask for 30 seconds.
We'd like to go ahead and move on to someone else. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
I'm just not in favor of it now.
Understood. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jackie Crandall, Mr. Mayor and the council president. I'm speaking to you now as a board member for the library. And while this is an agenda item tonight, this has been something that the board of the library and the mayor have been discussing for a few months, and something that we are very excited about. The board supports and believes in the library leadership that we have with Dell and Michelle as the assistant and the mayor's discussions. Mr. Williams II is here. He's an Irondale resident who's been meeting with them and have been negotiating. And so we would fully support moving forward and getting the ball rolling to continue the discussions to move forward towards a new library.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Stewart and City Council members. My name is Christina Hensel, and I live on Belmont Drive in Irondale. I have been a resident for over 25 years. Looking over your agenda, I noticed the 2 items for contracts totaling almost $600,000 for professional design services, architectural and engineering services for Ruffner Ballpark, and a library. I think this needs to be postponed for the following reasons. One, there
No.
and we need one. 2, the water department has ongoing essential upgrades that you approve.
Maybe give him his. I think
pushing the
he's
button.
going out.
Thank you. Which began this year and will continue in 2023. If my memory serves me right, the upgrades total a little over $6 million. 3, many roads in the city still need paving, including mine. Looking over my notes, you, along with Mayor Stewart, have said that another $2 million will be allotted in 2023 to proceed with road paving throughout Irondale. Number 4, the master plan for all the parks in Irondale is not complete, and this plan will be based on input received by Irondale citizens. Therefore, money for Ruffner Park, $170,000, should not be spent without citizens' input. 5, there are already many expenses, such as salary increases, that were recently approved. The purchase of Zamora Temple, purchasing a fire engine, and excavators. While it's true that the
Ma'am,
fire...
your 2 minutes is up. Thank you for your comments. Thank you.
What about the microphone exchanges?
I
Can we
gave an
make some
extra 40
allowances?
seconds of grace for that. I
Okay.
did give grace. Thank you.
In that new budget, could you add some microphones?
Yeah.
We just might have to go back to the hardwired ones.
I've just got a couple of comments about the $10,000 for Shades Valley. And I'm not against supporting the school, but there's something like 900 students there, and this is money for the football team, which I don't know what percent that is. My guess is it's less than 10% of the students, so it doesn't benefit a great majority of them. Second point is a better way to do it than a gift is to provide some kind of in-kind service. Help with some kind of fundraiser, give them ownership, add some contingency. It's just a better way of doing it than a gift, I believe. And it would help more of the students. But if the idea is to help Shades Valley, a better way, I think, would be to consider that the performance on reading and math has gone down 50% over the last 10 years. So that'd be a better place to put the help, I think. And my final point is, we're talking about increasing our water rates. Well, you know, that's everybody. And here you're going to take $10,000 for a very small group. So I think we need to consider that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Excuse me for 1 second. Sir, the gentleman that just spoke, if you could, what's that? Okay, there's a form right there. She did not get your address unless you just want to give it to her real quick.
I was up here before. It's in, did I not say my name? I thought I forgot. There we are. Okay. Thank you.
And then before you get started, sir, I believe I have topic repave and something or another.
Yes, East Forest Drive.
Okay, that's a non-agenda item. When we finish everything, if I'll ask for comments on non-agenda items. If you could pause, thank you.
Members of the council, Mr. Mayor, I just want to bring up a prudential matter. And that is, we all know we're experiencing inflation, record highs, not since 40 years. Gas prices a year and a half ago were $2 less. is it prudent? Is it good stewardship to embark on the library and the Ruffner baseball at this time? Is it prudent to do that? Is it a good use of resources when we don't know what the future holds? Inflation could go skyrocketing even further. Gas prices, although going down, will perhaps rebound, go even higher. So I think we've got to stop and think, is this a prudent move? Is this the best way to be a good steward? Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I speak as citizen Jackie Crandall this time?
As citizen Jackie Crandall, not friend of the library Jackie Crandall.
Right, right.
Got it.
Different hat.
Different hat.
I have come before y'all as a citizen since 2017. Councilman London and I have been in communication. I have begged for a playground for my kids for the park. And so back in 2017, we never saw what inflation would do or what years would come. But again, this is a project that we have put off for so many years. So many years. My kids are going to be grown before there's ever a playground in this city. And so I'm asking that we move forward. Again, these items for the park and the library are not lump sums paid today. This is an investment to sign a deal to say, let's do something. And so I'm asking that you please, please, please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Lewis, 5189 Cornell Drive. There's a lot of concern about the money being spent, and that is very valid. I think we all know it's a lot of money. There's a lot of people coming up saying they have concerns. I want to point out that what we're discussing getting rid of or just not doing applies to the youth. And as the parent of the youth, I could be considered youth, hopefully. I almost didn't move back to Irondale because there's nothing for the kids. I did because I grew up in Irondale. I love Irondale. Bought a house on the same street that I grew up on, and it's awesome. It's great. But things are going down when it comes to the kids. Like, we need the parks. Ruffner. My kid played baseball or t-ball. I coached it. It was fun, but that place needs some work, man. We lost a field. We lost teams. We lost it all. We had football, lost it all. The library was fantastic when I was a kid in the 80s. It's time to step it up. I have a business degree, so I fully understand the concerns about inflation, and I am not trying to downgrade that. However, you combat inflation by bringing in income as public, right? As a public entity. To bring in income, we need citizens. We need the youth. We need people my age, their 30s, 40s. I'm not going to tell you how old I really am. And we need their kids. We need our kids to stay. I don't think now's the time to say no. Nobody's trying to spend $100 million. These aren't extravagant. Nobody's got a gold toilet. It's a library that we desperately needed 20 years ago. It's ball fields that we desperately needed 20 years ago. Parks that we desperately needed 20 years ago. I think it's time.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
My name's Chip Gardner. I'm 3128 Carl Daly Road. And I'll be very brief. I wanted to speak about professional services in general. I'm an architect, been practicing in town for 36 years now. I want to understand it. So in terms of it seems like the Irondale should have some sort of guideline, something for some smaller projects. It makes perfect sense to have a more expedited process. Everybody knows Goodman Mills Cawood is a highly, very reputable firm and all that. But I'm guessing that a $10 million building may be probably the largest architectural project the city of Irondale's ever done. Is that? And certainly a $500,000 fee, every top-notch firm in town would be interested in that. That's a great project. To me, it seems like, A, for appearance's sake, that there should, and was there an interview process and qualification submittal? I don't know how that works or what happened, but if nothing else, for appearance's sake, there should be some kind of a process and a committee. That's much more common, but for a fee of that size, it's really surprising that, and the reason I bring it up is because that is I'm a huge fan of really aggressively trying to move Irondale forward. I was for the new tax. I'm a fan of all that. I think it's a huge opportunity that you can't miss. And so it seems to me like to do a project of that magnitude, it really needs to be a super successful project. I'm not familiar with the firm, even though I've been an architect for 36 years. I'm not familiar with that firm, and I'd be willing to bet that may be their largest fee project they've ever done. It seems like a little bit more study of that process and how you select is really important for the city. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments on agenda items only?
On the Ruffner Park issue, who's on our Parks Board?
John Councilman London chairs that board. I'm on that board, and I am not sure who the other person that's on that board is. Is it you, Councilman Sims? Okay. Oftentimes when we meet, we're all five here, so I haven't looked at the communities in a while, but I believe that's the makeup.
It's a committee, not a board. It's a committee, not a board. Committee.
What?
It's a committee.
It's just a committee.
It's a committee.
What's happened to our funds that we've, over the last few years, we've paid funds for development of a project? What's happened to those fees?
I would have to know more specifically what you're referring to.
Didn't we have somebody drawing plans before? Didn't we have, Mayor? Why did we just, what did we do? Did they refund our fees, or did they just?
They didn't draw plans. They put it out for bid, rejected by the council. We went back to the drawing board to do it all over again. I'm not gonna get into why things transpired between the company and public, but we both decided to part ways, and that's how.
Okay, I understand that. I just couldn't figure out what we did. We paid a bunch of money out. I've never seen any plans, so nothing's been presented.
There was a phase 1 plan for Ruffner Park, which, yes, it included a dog park, playground equipment, an amphitheater, and I think parking spaces. There was a phase 1 that's no longer being discussed. Now we have a master plan, and based on residents' input, but we're moving forward with this, which many residents are not comfortable with moving forward when everything else is being overlooked. The playground equipment would have been great.
Thank you for your comments, Ross. I appreciate it.
Time that she talked.
Well, for one thing, I actually allowed you to come back up a second time. So by law,
You said we had to do two different issues.
I know, and normally I don't do that, but I appreciate your feedback specifically because of your experience in your field. But we cannot allow this to continue going on and reiterate.
We have 45 minutes of proclamations.
No.
Then that's the mayor's
2
job.
minutes to speak.
No.
We're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, I'm not going to accept any more comments regarding agenda items.
Thank you.
I would look for a motion on the approval of the consent agenda as introduced with modifications. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda? We've already introduced the regular agenda, so I'm not asking for the...
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with modifications.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. All right. Let me just catch myself. All right, so item number 2 on consent that moved to the regular, if someone could go ahead and introduce resolution 2022 R150.
A motion that 2022 R150 be Moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No. Now, this is a regular issue, Miss April. This is not an ordinance, so it does not have to be unanimous. So from a procedural standpoint, since we do technically have an intended funding source, does this have to be unanimous or no? No, thank you. Okay, so that would be item number 2 that came off the consent onto the regular. All right. And then if someone could go ahead and introduce item number 3.
Make a motion that resolution 2022 R-151 be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
We have a no from Councilwoman Quare. Councilman Box, I did not hear your vote.
Which one are you talking about again?
We are talking about the 489-800, the ones that has the capital project for 2023 regarding the library.
It was consent that we moved over.
That was consent, but it was moved to the regular.
Well, if Councilman Quaylar has already put the no on it, so it's not, it's just gonna be read.
No.
It's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
No,
Resolution.
it's
We need
just a
your answer.
resolution.
So it does not have to be unanimous.
We need your answer.
Very well.
So what say you?
I would,
Yes or no?
I'll vote yes.
There we go.
Okay. Understood. All right. That takes care of that. That was off. Then we get to our new business. Item number 1 under new business came off. Now we find ourselves with the second item under new business, which would be ordinance 2022-16. If someone could begin the process on that.
I make a motion that ordinance 2022-16 be considered read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2022-16.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Make a motion that ordinance 2022-16 be approved and adopted.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. All right. Item number 3 on the regular agenda. This would be ordinance 2022-17, if it could be introduced.
Make a motion that ordinance 2022-17 be considered read.
We have a motion. Do we have a second on this ordinance?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
That is
No.
a no. We have 2 no's from this. Okay. So, that being said, the suspension of the rules for immediate consideration has not been passed. Now, we read the ordinance, so it can be introduced at a later time. Okay? For the second reading. Now, it has failed at this time, so we'll be back in 2 weeks. Fair enough? All right. Someone could go ahead and that's right. Item 4 was struck. If item number 5 could be introduced. This would be 2022-19.
Make a motion that ordinance 2022-19 be considered read.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2022-19.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes. And finally, sir.
Make a motion that ordinance 2022-19 be approved and adopted.
Motion?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. All right. Last but not least, item number 6.
Make a motion that ordinance 2022-20 be considered read.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2022-20.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay. That concludes deliberation and passage of these items.
I make a motion that we didn't approve and adopt it, did we?
Oh, did I not get to the thing? Did you not get to the thing? My bad.
I make a
I'm eager.
motion that ordinance
Thank you.
2022-20 be approved and adopted.
Second.
Motion and second for real this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. So that concludes our deliberation of our items. At this time, we would take any comments to the council on non-agenda items. So these would be the things that we did not deliberate. That's him.
My name is Austin Rodham. I live at 453 East Forest Drive. Right now, I have 29 people that signed this petition. We need our road paved. We need speed bumps to keep all these people coming down our road that turns up Del Rio to speed. There's a lot of kids out there, and some of them are going to get hit one of these days. And Dave, I've had a lot of people that's told me that they've called you, you won't answer, you do not return their call. Why?
I have not missed a phone call to my cell that I am aware of. I prefer it to go all through email so that there's a record of it. Now, I get a lot, like everyone else, I get 5,000 spam calls about car warranties and whatnot. If I do not have somebody saved or if I'm not aware that they're going to be calling, I will not answer that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I would be interested in your survey, though. Did you have any other comments while you still had a moment? Did you have any other comments while you still have a moment?
I still have copies at home.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. How are you doing?
First of all, I'd like to thank my husband for being so patient tonight and sitting here through the whole meeting, and he didn't drag me out. I have just two things to mention. One is wanting some information about the ongoing project of building the public site at Old Leeds and Grants Mill Road. I can't find out any information about what's going on up there. I don't know if there's been a completion date stated. I know I've heard that there's problems going on with the site. We live at 3510 Belmont Road. So we are within a quarter of a mile of all of that that's going on. The heights, the widening of the road on Grants Mill, EWTN. I've been trying to find out information. At EWTN, I called, they said, go talk to the guard at the gate. Well, the guard said, I don't know anything. So maybe somebody can tell me what's going on over there besides just a parking lot, they said. So we don't really know what's going on in our neighborhood, and I would like to know something. Or tell me where I can find out the information. Okay, the second thing I've noticed tonight, there's been a little bit, to me, it seems like a disrespect to the citizens when they come and present something, a question or an inquiry, or they're trying to explain something, and you give them a very sharp and to me a snotty answer. And I don't think that's a way to regard the citizens, the voters of Irondale.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on non-agenda items?
Sick of seeing me. I'm Jackie Crandall still. New hat, okay? I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for a little over 15 years. Most of my experience has been in the emergency department and with pediatric developmental and behavioral health. Both of those combined have a lot of psychiatry experience with them. So really short, I just want to say one, thank you, Councilman Spivey and Mayor, for the statements that you made at last council meeting about discrimination in our city. I also want to make it aware for everyone here, but also the city to be aware as citizens. July 16th, a new national initiative was launched that is 988. So whereas you can dial 911 to reach out to fire and police, 988 is a mental health resource. There used to be a 1-800 number that you would call for mental health and suicide issues. But now it's an easy to remember 988, and it's something that I want to make sure that everybody's aware about. How does this all tie together? People who are discriminated against are at a significantly higher rate of mental health issues. And so I just want to make sure that as a city, that our citizens are aware of resources available. And again, just say thank you to the mayor and council president Spivey.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments on non-agenda items this evening? That being said, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for coming out this evening.